I'm not a therapist, but every so often there's some self-doubt that shows up that I have to address. I cannot let it pass because that self-doubt is almost always key to the success of that client.
You can have a coach that sets you all up, but that coach is hanging up the phone in 15 minutes. And then it's like you're left with yourself again. Do you have clarity or courage to take it on?
The Dan Andrews of Tropical MBA could be pulling in $500K part-time coaching.
How? Just do it for fun. Almost it feels. Because I don't know if I can like charge enough to make it worth it. Like I charge
You can't?
Well, I charge like right now $1,500 a call.
Okay.
So
all right.
It only takes 3 hours, for each call. It's like an hour call.
Okay.
Plus the prep and the down, it's like a 3 hour, it like craters an afternoon if I have a call,
Right. Yep, sure does.
And I don't know. I'm just like thinking about like, I guess the way to scale that business is to turn it into a group session. That would be the obvious thing.
Yes. The thing with coaching is as it's not going to ever truly be worth it. Like you're not going to be able to do this long term and go, wow, like this is amazing.
Right.
And so what I've done over the years to compensate for that is when I find a really good client that I really like, we vibe, everything's going great. And I say, okay, instead of you paying me my fee, how about I invest in your company and we
Right.
do some sort of cash plus my time, coaching time. And then it becomes worth it, right?
Right.
Because every moment I spend with that person increases my asset.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's one way that I felt that it's worth it. But then the other side is having essentially quit coaching for almost 2 years now. I had like a handful of clients that I kept on and I get some referred to me. But having done that and then coming back to it now where I'm like, okay, I'm taking on more clients again. I just realized I just needed my battery recharged.
Yeah.
Because you're just putting so much energy into some other human being.
Yeah.
And trying to give them the best that they're paying for. But then you have this little guilt thing that comes along where you're like, man, I'm getting paid an insane amount of money to talk to people. I get paid to talk. And so then you're like, I should feel really grateful because I'm getting paid essentially $1,000 or $2,000 or more per hour.
Yeah.
And all I'm doing is talking to somebody through a screen.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's amazing.
But it's also like, maybe I feel like our standards are probably higher than the clients. A lot of clients are like, I already paid, I'm fine. Because they're typically paying in a bundle or they're paying on a subscription. But I find the phase shift to be a lot of energy. I'm always like digging into their P&L every month, their scorecards, like, and so, I am like off from my life for half a day for them.
Yep.
And I think it is valuable. But I think your insight rings really true that it's never really going to be worth it. Like, within reasonable rates in my, like, it doesn't move the needle. So I guess where I've come to is similar to what you were saying about the batteries is like right now I have 1.5 clients and I still get charged up from them. So like I get inspired to go do whatever it is. So it is kind of like a nice phase shift. But there was part of me that's like, oh, like I could easily make an extra $100,000 next year, or more.
You could, far more.
Yeah.
Right.
And
The Dan Andrews of Tropical MBA could be pulling in $500K part-time coaching.
How?
So
I don't know if my rates.
rates.
Yeah.
Yeah. One is rates.
Charging like $3,500 a month kind of thing.
Minimum. minimum. Like you could do that. You personally, beyond DC Black, you personally could do that with a group. $3,500 a month, 10 people in that group, and you're making, what was that, 35,000 every single month.
Yeah. So
right?
so that would be like, you do the group call that has a format, and then you do touch-ups with the crew throughout the month. Yeah. And then you have like a Slack that everybody's in, and yeah.
Yeah.
So that's another
I would not do a Slack.
Why is that?
I would charge, if you're going to do a Slack, charge far more.
Okay.
Like double the price, because it will eat up your time. Like I've set up my life so that there's no notification worth any amount of money. Like I hate Slack. I hate WhatsApp. I don't like any way that anyone can communicate with me outside of my calendar.
Yeah.
Because when you're putting so much energy into another human being in your job, having them be able to tap into you at any point is, I found that I started off that way, and I found that it was not acceptable. It just burnt me out.
Mm-hmm.
I just couldn't do it.
Makes sense.
But so at $3,500 a month, 35,000, what's that equate to? 400 and something thousand a year.
Yeah.
Right. So you're pretty close to my just rough throwing out a rough thing. But
would you have to do 2 calls for 1 to 5, 1 to 5, or would you do 1 to 10? And 1 to 10.
I would,
because that's going to be like, the other thing is like my mental horsepower. A lot of these people that would pay for something like that would be more talented and smarter than me.
Yeah.
You know, so like there is a level of like preparation and energy that goes into like being of value to somebody that is more talented than you.
No. So I love that you brought that up, because the people who they're paying you when you're in a group setting, they're paying you not for Dan's exact knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
It's what Dan is able to do to extract the knowledge of the group.
Right.
Right. So you in a group setting, you're more the guy who is guiding the flow.
Right.
And
it's facilitation.
Yes, that is almost the extent of what you're there for. Sure, you're going to be able to pop out some great ideas because of your experience, the thousands of people that you've interviewed and you've worked with over the years. Like you would be able to contribute, but they're not in a group setting. They're not paying really for your contribution. They're paying for the framework that you're giving them.
It is an interesting like percentage breakdown of like, even on a one-on-one session, like, are you purely Socratic? Are you consultative? Or what is your breakdown of those things? So for each client, it's different depending on where they're at and what your expertise is.
Yeah. So this client that I just took on just a few weeks ago, I told him in our sales call that I was like, I'm a consultant. I've always been one. I know stuff. I synthesize what I learn from my clients, and I turn that into actionable items for future clients. That's what I'm really good at. I'm not a therapist. I'm not going to work on that. But every so often, well, not every so often, nearly every call with every client, there's some self-doubt that shows up.
Yes.
That I have to address. I cannot let it pass, because that self-doubt is almost always key to the success of that client. If I can tweak it, if I can get them to see that this is what they're doing. Like you just said a few minutes ago, like, oh, like I don't know, they're more talented than me.
Yeah.
Like, no, they're not.
Yeah.
They know something specific that you don't know. They're running a company that you're not running.
Right.
And they may actually have a higher IQ, but almost that's probably not the case, and it probably won't even come into play.
Right.
For what they need you for.
Yeah. That
right?
makes sense.
They need as like that cliche where they can't read the label from the inside of the bottle. right? So they need you to be the reader on the outside of the bottle to tell them what it says,
Yeah.
because they're trapped inside of it, and they can only address what's inside that bottle because they're contained by their business.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And you're not constrained by it. So you can look all around beyond the label. You can look past that, and you can look into other bottles and say, this is what happens over here, and we can apply it here.
Yeah.
And that's valuable.
Leaving your client with confidence to go take on the challenge is one of the most rewarding aspects of coaching. Like towards the end of every call, that's like part of my process, is because like often the client will know essentially what they need to do, but they have a set of reasons that they're not going to do it.
Right.
And so like clarifying the framework for taking action. Oh, here's another question. One of the things I've noticed is like we do like a pretty intense onboarding where there's like a diagnostic, and like I read all the P&Ls and the former financials and stuff. And I found that like there's this huge benefit of the first call, because the first call will typically be like 2 to 3 hours, and they're like putting in 2 to 3 hours of work. What do you do later on in an engagement when you're tracking more or less with stuff? Do you introduce exercises, frameworks? Like, because it's different than the beginning when you're like kind of going through the low-hanging fruit.
Right.
So do you have methodologies or ideas for how do you, like for me, my methodology right now is like, I'm only going to work with you for 6 months.
Right.
But I know that there's a bunch of different ways to continue to like find worthwhile things to do. What's your thought on that?
So figuring out what it is that you're good at as a coach and creating those frameworks around what you're good at solving. So there's people who like Gino Wickman's Traction, and they have like coaches and consultants for that. And there's a framework, like there's those 6 parts in his framework.
Yeah.
And you work through all 6 of them.
Right.
And then when a new problem in one of those compartments comes up again, you work in that. And what I've developed is around finances, operations, and leadership are the 3 main things that I cover. And I start off with the diagnostics, just like you do, because I've never had a single client in 15 years know what their problem was. They tell me what their problem is, and as soon as I go through my diagnostics, I find the actual problem. The one thing, like if we address this one thing now, it will transform your business. And we work on that.
Yeah.
And then as time goes on, we start working through the other parts of their business. And I've got approximately 9 parts, and I'm not going to say them all right now, but there's essentially 9 parts that we go through.
Will you send them like that before the call, or will you note like, you'll be like, okay, let's get into this then? That kind of.
Because what I say is, here's the things that we're going to cover over, say, the next 3 years. And in the first year, and we break that down by quarters. This quarter, we're going to work on this. This quarter, we're going to work on that after the diagnostics. But I have to let them know businesses are dynamic. You know, like Mike Tyson's famous saying of getting punched in the face, like your plan goes right out the window.
Yeah.
So we start on key problem number 1, and we get that in operation. So the client that I'm working with right now, it's retention, customer retention. So if we can just improve customer retention, like in his business, just 1 month, if we can get his customers on average stay 1 month longer, it adds $400,000 to the bottom line. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, and he came to me, I got a sales problem. It's like, no, you don't. You have a retention problem. So then once we get that working, because retention's like a multi-year thing to solve, we get it working, then we move into the next biggest problem that was identified, and then the next. But as you start monkeying with systems, what you thought was going to be the order of operation changes.
Yeah.
Because the system has now changed. The system is no longer that. Who's the guy? Eli Goldratt with the theory of constraints.
Yeah.
He said that as soon as you unlock one constraint, a new one shows up.
Right. Always.
Right. So if you, in your diagnostic, you figure out, oh, here's the things that are broken, and we're going to fix these things one after another. But as soon as you fix one, the system is now different.
What's the best way to have a client define, like, how do you diagnose a business effectively? Do you have them just like write a bunch of shit, or do you have them like make a business systems diagram, or like do you have any methodology there that you like?
Yeah, I have what I call my 360 deep dive, which goes through each segment of their business.
Okay.
From leadership all the way down to how do you close a sale.
So I get it. So they're answering in text, and then you're...
Yes, they answer in text form.
And you're visualizing the system as you read through the text, essentially.
Yeah, yeah. But the honest part, a little insider information for any potential client listening, is you're going to do this long questionnaire from me. And it's mostly for you to understand your business, not for me to understand your business.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I get a good overview of your business from it, but all I need is your financial information. And then I can determine what's going on in your business by looking at the numbers. I don't actually need you to answer a lot of these questions.
Which is a really interesting insight, actually, because I have coached people, not in like serious engagements, but I do a lot of funsies. And if people do not have good financials, it is, like you're just splashing around in the pool. And it's almost a signification of like how they're able to express their business to themselves. Like they don't see their business. Like one of the things, like in that confidence giving portion at the end of the call, is you're often expressing their business back to them in the simplest terms possible so that it can be addressed. Like it's like your business is simply this. It is a media brand that's squeezed into an offer that converts at this rate, that retains people at this rate. And this number sucks. And that's what you're doing this month.
Right.
And it's like you just wrote 5,000 words about your business. And it's like our job is to go back to them and say, here's 15 words with 3 numbers. Yeah.
Well, with a consultative approach, which is what I do. Like I would give something prescriptive at the end. Almost all my clients want homework. They're like, what's the homework? What's the homework? Give me something to do. And half the time it's like, I just don't need you to do anything. Like if you just stop doing these 5 things that we just talked about in this call, you just stop that, your business would improve.
Right.
And most entrepreneurs want something to do. And I do my best to get them to stop doing things.
Makes sense.
I need you to stop running the sales department because you got a guy who can close for you. Stop monkeying about there. Leave him alone. Let him do his job.
Yeah.
Right? Just use some diagnostics so you can know what's going on in sales. Don't bother him.
Right.
Like those kind of things. Like stop doing these things so you can become a leader. I need you to go from entrepreneur to CEO. And that's a major shift in identity and in skill sets. So I need that. That's what I'm here to do, is to teach you how to become a CEO, not to be a better entrepreneur.
How is everything going in Austin?
Austin is amazing for the fact that I'm here with my daughter and grandchild.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Amazing.
Got really loving that
True
part.
wealth.
Yeah, and you're a new dad. That's awesome. I was thinking about that. So I busted out this shirt.
Yeah, buddy.
In honor of Dan Andrews coming on. So this shirt goes back, what was that, summer 2013 Philippines? Or was it
2012? 2012.
Yeah. So it literally feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I wanted to cover in this episode, was to bring you on, because you've seen it all from, what was it, 2009?
Are we
that you
podcasting
got
now?
started? Yeah, we've been podcasting the whole
Okay.
time.
Gotcha. Great.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
it.
Wait,
Cool.
I just like having a conversation. This is
Nice.
old school, like back when I used to do the Foolish Adventure
Yes.
show.
Amazing.
I just have a conversation with somebody smarter than me.
I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm down. Let's go.
Yeah. So 2009,
Mhm.
right? I think that's when you started your blog as Tropical MBA, or when did you start Lifestyle Business Podcast? 2009 also?
2009, and then Tropical MBA was probably like 10 or 11 that I bought that domain simply to post the internship ad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So can you tell, because most of people who are going to be listening, some of them be old fans of ours, active fans of yours, who will be listening to this, but there's a lot of people who don't know who either of us are. And let's go back to 2009. What did that look like? What was that life like? Can you remember it well?
Where did it begin? I think I'm trying to think of like how much has changed. Like I've just been doing this deep dive into the Hormozy launch,
Yeah.
And I think part of the reason it's so fascinating to us old heads, like the internet marketing old heads, is that it feels like a classic rock station. Like I know every tune. I might not know all the artists, but
Yeah.
there's so much that echoes, and it's really fascinating to see it reach a broader audience. I think when we were hanging out in 2009, it felt like a secret back room where we did have our gurus and we did have that type of information, and we had the basic frameworks of we can now own assets for elbow grease on the web. We don't need a lot of capital to get involved in entrepreneurship. And it was absolutely thrilling that it might be the case that building websites essentially could be a better option than going and working a 9-to-5. And that to me is amazing, because if you like put all the benefits of like under building websites category, it's like I get to not look at notifications on my phone. I get to not respond to emails. This is something that you mentioned earlier. I get to go wherever I want. I get to have some amount of control over my income. I don't have to have a pointy-haired boss. All these things that are these benefits might not actually require an enormous risk. And I think that was the essential idea that was motivating me. It's like, wow, I maybe can have my cake and eat it too here, because I found out about this thing. And then I met a bunch of people like yourself and people that were back in those days that were getting flipped onto it as well by the Hormozys of the day.
Yeah.
So they're doing a great service by creating media product out of this opportunity to, hang up your shingle, to build a product, to make stuff in China, to build some software, whatever, and figure out a way to take control of your financial future.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that's what I was thinking. I was just obsessed with it. I still am obsessed with it, basically. I think it's like, the big idea of my lifetime is that there's this, corporatization and professionalization of society. And it's really like trickled down through like everyone you run into and meet and like what you consume.
Yeah.
And then there's this like back channel where you can like be out of it all. And I was just asking you about like what it's like to be in Austin, and it's still strange being around normies. Like it's hard actually. You can't speak openly around normies because it does not quite work. You have to tread lightly.
Yeah.
Because we've been out of Gen Pop for so long, doing our own thing, sneaking off to wherever, making plans, and it just doesn't fit into how you're supposed to be a part of the machine.
Right.
So, and I think that's really exciting for me. I wore a Rage Against the Machine t-shirt to my senior photos because I just was dissatisfied with the options that were in front of me. And so I still think that Hormozi, back down to the originals, the Zig Ziglars, were the people showing this alternative path that you can be out of the machine. Yes, you still got to be money focused and you got to be into commerce and capitalism and all that. So we're part of a bigger machine, but we're out of that middle zone where you got to play by somebody else's rules and show up at a certain time and turn yourself into kind of a non-creative conforming entity for the lion's share of your life in order to make it work.
Right. Well, I think there's the lucky few who get into the machine and it amplifies what they're able to do. Because I've met some amazing salespeople that would be terrible if they ran their own company. I've met in the advertising space, I met so many creative people who did amazing work, did amazing national campaigns that there's no way they could have run their own ad agency.
I think about that. Yeah. They're like, you
Yeah.
think of professors, you imagine people who might work at NASA or SpaceX or doctors, like there's certain, or even mechanical people who get an opportunity to work on airplanes, or, military people who get the chance to lead, to, manage a ship. Those, I think, one of my listeners said that you are the blue collar internet, Dan. That's why I listen to you. And I do think that because I came from somewhere in the middle and was just surrounded by people in the middle, that those edges, like I never was in a position to get to the edges where those things could be interesting.
Right. And I think that's the experience of nearly everyone, is that they go in, it's like, oh, well, this is just what we do. Like you just become part of the machine.
Yeah, my jobs were so average, man. It was just so mid, as the kids would say. Everything was
as
mid.
As the cool kids would say.
It was TPS reports all day long. Yeah, it was very mid.
Yeah. Yeah. And like for me, I went into the military and immediately realized that I had a problem with authority, and that this was not going to work out well for me. and so I spent 4 years trying to improve me so that I would never have to take orders again. That I wouldn't have to get permission as to when I could go do something or when I could go somewhere. Like I really wanted control over where I was, when I wanted to do it, and who I wanted to do it with, right? Because it was an immaturity literally launched me as being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Like I was not mature enough to work for somebody else.
Yeah.
And so I had to figure out how to do it. And that's what put me on the fringes, on the outside, was just I refused to listen to people.
Sometimes, you bump into people with a different pedigree, and you could imagine an alternate life for yourself where you could work at some of these organizations where, you had the right incentive structure, you had more polish, you had more, like a jump start. And so I get that now that we hang out with highly successful people, you will bump into that crowd a lot more often, spend time with them. And it's like, oh, I get it. Like if I would have grown up around this, maybe I wouldn't have read Zig Ziglar books, and maybe I wouldn't have read 37 Signals of stuff and read all Seth Godin's books, because those forms of media were my access to an elite class.
Right.
And I think I found out through books in an early age. It's like, well, I can read the best philosophers and I can read the best stuff at Borders Bookshop. So that's a way, when you have these ideas in your head of what's it like in New York, or what's it like to work at Facebook, or what's it like to be a part of the financial apparatus in New York, or to be a part of Hollywood. You think about these edge cases,
Yep.
And the internet, you could jump right to that edge case and you could be a part of it right away. And so I think that was part of the appeal.
And you could earn your spot in it.
Yeah.
It wasn't given to you.
Yeah.
You weren't born into it. You earned your way in. And I think that's why I've gotten along so well with so many entrepreneurs from all kinds of backgrounds, is that the number one thing that entrepreneurship requires is you have to earn it.
Yeah.
You can't buy it, because you can buy a business, but that doesn't make you an entrepreneur, because that business, it still has to survive. You still have to make it work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was just thinking about, there's this parallel in the cycling world where people, you know how like in groups fight against each other, and there's this divide in the cycling world where, you know, people are now against going fast on bikes because it's not inclusive enough and it's intimidating to people who want to get involved and stuff. And I get that, and that's correct. However, on the other side, when you want to go on a ride, the number one rule is that you need to be self-sufficient, that not everybody else there is to take care of you. You need to be ready to get home on your own, number one. That's the number one rule.
Mm-hmm.
And the second rule is that you need to be able to manage the pace. And one of the things I really love about cycling, and there's parallels all across life, is you either did the work to do that pace or you didn't. And there's a lot of people who show up expecting to be taken care of.
Yeah.
And what I want to tell those people is, like, everybody here put a lot of work in to be able to do this pace. Everybody had a different start line. Everybody was a little scared. But guess what we were doing last week? We were riding. We were training. We were doing the work so that we can be here on Saturday morning and ride 100 miles at 16 miles an hour. And that's what we want to do. And we worked really hard to be able to do it. And so now we don't want to have to take care of people who didn't do that.
Right.
And so there's this divide there's a lot of talk about that, but I do think it's similar with entrepreneurship. We can groan about everything, but at the end of the day, it's like you did it or you didn't. And that's like on everybody's plate. Like, and I think about that a lot when I think about this idea of like having clarity and courage is so critical to the entrepreneurship journey. And we all just waver back and forth, I think, a lot. Like, am I clear on what I need to do? Do I have, you know, the courage to take it on? And a lot of times the answer is, nah, not right now. You know, not at all. But sometimes we do. We go back and forth. We find support in others. And yeah, like, nobody is going to come solve that particular problem for you. You know, you can find encouragement or whatever. You can have a coach that sets you all up. But that coach is hanging up the phone in 15 minutes.
Yep.
And then it's like you're left with yourself again. Do you have clarity or courage to take it on? I think that's cool about entrepreneurship. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's one of the things that keeps everything fresh. And we've been doing this forever, and it still feels like day one. Like, every morning I get up, I go to do my job in my business, and it still feels like I'm just getting started.
Yeah.
Every day feels like that, because there's always a new challenge. There's always something that I can improve upon. I can always get better.
Yeah. It's wild.
Yeah.
That's cool. I agree with that.
Going from this earning it, and we talked a bit about coaching. So I kind of want to get back into earning it as a coach, and which I guess I didn't really plan this out, and it just where conversations take us. But you did a podcast years ago about 1,000 True Fans.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, I think it was like somewhere around 2013 or something.
Okay.
At really old school. And
yes.
Yeah, it's like a lot in internet years, like that's like several dogs have died since then.
Correct.
Yeah, it's that long ago. You talked about the 1,000 True Fans. For anyone who doesn't know Kevin Kelly's 1,000 True Fans, it's like anyone with internet access probably does know about it, at least in mythology. Is that the idea is, if you're a creative person, and in our world we call that an entrepreneur, if you're creative and you can make a living by finding 1,000 people to pay you $100 a year.
Yep.
And you could make a living doing your art. That was the premise of it. And entrepreneurs just jumped all over this. We're like, yes, like this makes a ton of sense because it's kind of what we're trying to do.
Right.
But you said, maybe it doesn't quite fit anymore. Maybe it doesn't quite work anymore. Is that still true?
No, I think it's canonical. I think it still holds up. In fact, I just found another example. I found examples of the 1,000 True Fans business model all the time, which is essentially, you know, there would be some multiple of 1,000 that are aware of your work. And then it shuffles down into the 1,000 that are willing to like buy the t-shirt and the record and then make a tip donation, essentially. And then you're at 100,000. In fact, there's if you want to see an example of this that just happened in 1 year, there is a YouTube channel called Bike Farmer. And his dream, he dropped out of corporate and he started a bike shop in his hometown. He took it over from the guy who retired.
Nice.
And it's a horrible business. He fixes bikes for people who like have shit bikes.
Yeah.
So he decided, well, what if I like was the Bob Ross of bike mechanics and I just did these hour-long videos where I fixed the bike and I like talked while I was doing it. And sure enough, 1 year later, he is the Bob Ross of bike mechanics, and he did a video about how he makes $100,000 a year, and he has 100,000 subscribers now. So you can do the math on that. It's like 1,000 of those people are willing to tip him $100 a year, and there you go. He's supplementing his core business, and I think it's another kind of theme for entrepreneurs, like thinking about the 1,000 True Fans model is what is your relationship to media at this moment? Like, Are you buying media? Are you forgetting about it? Or are you creating it? And the most bike shops are just going to be like, come to my bike shop. I got 20% off this week.
Right.
But he took this whole different direction. That's like more in line with what Kevin Kelly's talking about, which is true art, a true creativity, and inspiring people. And it does have a parlay, but it's not as direct as most founders want with their core business, which is why I think a lot of founders really have trouble with media because they're not making something native that's native media. They're trying to like media-ize their business.
Right.
And I feel like we really spin our wheels as business owners trying to do that. Like nobody wants to read your stupid ad.
Right. Yeah. It's like you can make a clever ad and people enjoy it, but that doesn't necessarily translate into sales.
Not necessarily.
But I would say something that just struck me is, so this guy's making these videos, and is he still doing his bike shop duties? Probably still doing the job, but most of his money is not even coming from his business. It's
Correct.
Coming from his media company, that world, right? This is one of the best ways that I found is so many people have intellectual property that is incredibly valuable. It's their knowledge, their experience, but they just don't package it properly. They package it as bike service instead of packaging it as the entertainment of doing bike service. What was that old book, the
Jay
motorcycle?
Abraham.
No, the
Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's about the art of maintaining the bike.
Yes.
And by a repackaging of what you know, turns into a completely different stream of income. It turns into a different business, turns into you getting paid to live your life. That's one of the reasons, and you'd asked me about what was going on with this podcast. It's one of the reasons I started the Monetize, is that I was looking around the internet and there were so many people who have forgotten that this medium is set up in such a way that you can live the life you want to live and get paid to do it, which is amazing. It's never existed in all of human history. But it has since 1995. You could come on, set up a website and be you and get paid for it.
Yeah. And I think that dynamic you set up there is particularly financially interesting in this case where, fixing an old clunker bike, you might be able to charge like $200 that's a relatively high fix. And then your net margin on that is going to be $40 maybe for that 2 hours, 20 bucks an hour. And then that same content on YouTube will be worth more in advertising for bike brands. And then you get the equity value of the media brand and like the forward-looking value, whereas the bike just gets fixed and it's game over.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
the other thing is I've been thinking a lot about this concept that I call the influence equation. And so you mentioned like you can live your life. And the first thing I thought when you said that was like documentary. And closely related to that is like streaming. And you notice like when Hormozi did his book launch, he did a combination of an infomercial and a stream. And so the influence equation is essentially like for a media brand, it's like, what is your positioning and authority and proof for that positioning? And then it's like, what is the medium under which they're consuming the content? And like, there's different like power levels to different types of mediums. So like a documentary is very powerful, an article less so. And then the final piece is just time. So like how much time are they spending with the media? And that will equal how much influence you have. So this is like, brings me to like a loosely held secret in internet marketing. It's like, well, why does everybody have a podcast? It's because they work. And no one really, like, there's been a counter narrative to that. Oh, they're hard to subscribe to, blah, blah, blah. The bottom line is like when people listen to you for an hour, that's highly influential.
Yes.
And so, yeah, you kind of see the gold standard of that with Hormozi coming out and saying, well, I'm just going to sit here for 8 hours then. And I'm essentially going to stream and document the whole. And then you go to his YouTube channel and it's him walking down a hall talking about the launch. Well, now we're moving from an advertisement to I'm going to document. I'm just going to live in front of you.
Right.
And because of that, I'm more influential. And you see it on Netflix with every star is now deciding that, well, I'm going to create a puff documentary about my story because now my story is going to be in your head. And the next time I launch a set of hoodies, you're going to buy it.
Right. And this is accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone can have that 1,000 true fans.
Yeah.
And what I did with that, because when I listened to that podcast, and this early 2013, I was coaching. I was running the Foolish Adventure show, my podcast at the time, which had members, and I sold knowledge products around how to run a company. And I realized, because you came up with 10 true clients and 100 true customers. And I said, it's kind of right. I look at my business and I've got my clients, I've got members, and I've got customers. And so from that moment on, like I listened to that podcast, I was like, oh, this is what I have. I didn't even know I built it. That I have a small group of clients that say if I have 10 clients and I'm charging $25,000 a year, there's $250,000. Then I have members, and let's say I get 100 members at $2,500 a month. Well, there's another $250,000.
Yes.
And then if I sell my products and I get 1,000 of those at $250 in the course of a year, right? They buy several products or one big product, and I get another $250,000.
Correct.
And I was like, I didn't know I built this.
Yeah, it's like where this can go off the rails is if the dimension of the problem your audience is trying to solve changes at different levels. So in the case of the bike guy, like if it's pure entertainment and your next level isn't an entertainment product,
right,
you can go off the rails. But in your case, if the problem is I want to grow a better business and there's 1,000 people paying $100, then the math is remarkably consistent across businesses.
Yeah.
So, we can predict in our business, within 5 to 10% of like what an uptake's going to be with a product based on that math. So it's
Right.
so it's like, and we've talked about this a lot, like, you know, you can simply put it in a spreadsheet. It's like, if the price is 10x, 5% of the people will take it. If the price is 5x, 17% of the people will take it. It like follows a math
Right.
curve, which
Yeah.
is, I think, really empowering and interesting.
Right. And that's why, like, at the beginning of this, I said, you, Dan Andrews, could institute a $500,000 a year income
Correct.
part-time just from the intellectual property you already have. And if it was just packaged in a way that you could do it long term. Because
Yes.
if you're coaching is still you. I
Yeah.
don't care if you put it in a group. I don't like, it doesn't matter. You are still performing for your
Yep.
clients, right? So it's got to be worth it. You long term, it has to be worth it, either through very high fees, or it has to be worth it in the form of equity.
Right.
And I think with your reputation and the things that you've accomplished for all these years, you could get money and equity
Yeah.
quite easily.
Yeah.
Assuming, you realize that you have a talent that people are coming there for, and you're not a lesser talent than the people in the room.
Yeah, no, certain businesses are more challenging, but certainly, like, again, I think you're right. I think it's a spreadsheet for sure. Like,
Yeah.
we have well over 100 people paying over like $6,000 a year. So there's a large cohort of our customer base that would want to pay 30, for sure.
Yeah.
They're looking for solutions. For example, like Hormozy has a solution that's at 35 a year, and you don't get Hormozy for 35. You get
Nope.
you get somebody that he hired
Right.
6 months ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, but certainly, like, that's of value. Like, if Alex Hormozy hired this person and they have of course it's worth 35 grand for a lot of business owners.
Well, you can look at Dan Sullivan of Strategic Coach, who used to coach at a lower dollar amount, but he always started with a group. I think in the very beginning it was groups.
Mm-hmm.
And he built that up, had other coaches take over, and then he was out of coaching. But then he got convinced that there was significant demand for his insights. Because
Yeah.
people were reading his books. Like, they dove into his books and they're like, yes, this is what I need. Obviously, this guy's got more insights that I would love to have access to.
Yeah.
So then he ended up setting up a much higher tier. And I think he's at a group level now of like 100 grand
Yeah.
per member
Last time I
in that
checked.
group.
Yeah.
Right. So you could have, there's no real limit. I think the limit is your audacity.
Yeah.
Right. Do I feel strong enough to command the fee?
Right.
Because there's someone who's going to pay it.
For sure. Yeah. No, I think that's already demonstrated, like, in terms of the customer graph. We've
Right.
already charged $30,000 for coaching.
Yeah.
30,000 for 6 months. So yeah, I mean,
Nice.
yeah, you can.
Yeah.
It's math. Like,
Right.
there's a group of people, and Dan saw that. And it's a matter of whether you want to take on that product and deliver for that product, or whether you want to focus on other products or your media. And so I think that's always the challenge too, is you want to harvest value? Do you want to go out and create, there's something, for example, that could be tricky in 1,000 True Fans business model, which is like, how much of your product looks like your media that created the fans in the first place? And is there a conflict of interest between creating the deliverable versus the media? And so the most elegant model would be that nothing interferes with your ability to create the media that brought in the fans in the first place. That would be the ideal world. So you see some YouTube creators struggling with this. For example, they have like premium subscribers, and then they're forced to make the product videos.
Right. Yeah.
And like, those videos could very well be the videos that bring in the new fans. So if you could find a way to
Right.
still release that content on a time delay or whatever, like, I think that those are the types of things that come up quite a bit. You see this with like Substack as well. It's like, well, I wrote a banger of an article, which would bring me a big audience, but now I have to deliver it to my pay. So that is a problem.
Yeah.
That can show up if you properly account for your time in a business. It can just show up on a financial sheet, which is like, this is how much I'm investing in content for our members. This is how much I'm investing in content for the public.
Right.
So I think it's an interesting dilemma that comes up for a lot of founders.
Which is a packaging problem.
Mm-hmm.
So like taking Substack, I've got the paid version and I've got the free version. The free version's to bring everybody in, but then the paid version is so that I can actually eat, right? I think packaging up the paid version is, if you put it in a different format,
Yes.
that it immediately becomes something else. So you could give the article away for free, but you could have a repackaging of that article into something else.
For
Could be video.
example, with a discussion for like,
Yeah.
so like if, for example, you're subscribed to an investment newsletter, if you're an accredited investor, you can become a premium subscriber and discuss the investment advice with other accredited investors.
Yeah.
That would be a elegant way to solve the problem we're pointing to, in theory. Now, it might not work for your particular audience, but
Which is what you did. You created the Dynamite Circle,
mm-hmm.
where the people who listen to the show could come in and talk to each other.
Yeah.
Right. Back then, you were solving for essentially this digital nomad entrepreneurial loneliness that was happening.
Yeah.
It's like, because we're living on the fringes.
Yeah.
And it's like, let's get all the fringe people in one place and let them talk to each other.
That's right.
Right. And so that builds a business. And it was simply a repackaging by allowing the fan to become a part of the product.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that at that time it was important. It was really good that there wasn't, podcast energy going into the product, because the podcast is expensive to produce.
Yeah.
And so then it causes a problem at the constraint area of the business, which is, how do we get the message out to more people? You do more podcasts, you market the podcast, all that. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. But that was the thing you were doing for free anyways. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That was the art.
Yeah.
You were doing this art whether you were getting paid or not. I don't know if, like, when you started the Tropical MBA podcast, lifestyle business podcast, but currently Tropical MBA, when you started that, did you think, oh, we're gonna make money off of this podcast?
I had an intuition that it would be valuable, because I saw what Internet Business Mastery was doing.
Yeah. Those guys were like a leader in getting everybody to come out and share what they know about business online at that time.
100%. And they were very good at it. And I really enjoyed what they were doing. And I saw how they were monetizing it. And I saw how different it was from what we were doing. And so I think that was a big spur of inspiration. It's that rip, pivot, jam thing. It's like, man, like, if only something like this existed for this other wealthy, like, motivated crowd, that would be of interest. And this does not solve for that. And so that was very motivating. Yeah, the art thing, though, was easy. In terms of, like, it was well worth doing and not getting paid for it.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
It was like, it's like the reason that so many people listening to this right now, they're thinking about that article that's on the tip of their tongue, or the YouTube video they want to make, or the tweet they want to send out. It's the same impulse. Like, this is worth it just to figure out what I think about it. And, so that was definitely felt very arty at the time. Felt like creative expression.
Right. Whereas now podcasting has matured significantly. So now people think of it like, oh, I'm going into business. I'm going to start a podcast. I'm going into business. I'm building a product and it's going to lead to this sale and that sale, these other things, right?
Yes.
And some of the art feels like it's been lost a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
it's cool too, because it's created more art on the net because you can more reliably invest into it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Which is sick. Yeah. Like back in the day, it's harder to invest in it because you don't know what it looks like, so you're just doing these fun things. This is like, I think probably for old heads as a creative, you find yourself like having done so many of the things that are now very profitable and successful, but like you played around with it for a while.
Yeah.
And so there's two sides of the token, being a creative entrepreneur and doing something cool versus like really focusing in on what drives value and then like putting a lot of resources into it. That's the business side of things.
Right.
And so keeping conscious of that going forward, like as a creative, you're going to stumble across lots of like creative idealits that are actually have very big potential, and you're going to pass them by. So what's the next one that you're sleeping on? Is an interesting thought experiment.
If you're able to actually start putting some of it into action where you're getting experience. I think that's a lot of what people are missing, is that they're busy reading, they're watching Hormozi's book launch, they're consuming and not spending enough time creating, fumbling through it, right? I haven't done an interview, this type of thing in 10 years, right? So it's like, oh, yeah, it's been forever. And so like to sit down, do this sort of thing, figure out, do I have the ability to do it anymore? Do I have the necessary talent to create a show that will be able to compete in today's environment? Because when I did it, you could be a talentless hack and you could get a lot of listeners. Now it's like, okay, I'm competing with a lot of shows that people could get this information from. Can I deliver? And the only way I'm ever going to know the answer to that is to sit down and do what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. The other side, the one way we kind of poke at that is, maybe it's an impossible question, but it's sort of like, given the resources that you have or any given entrepreneur, what would Hormozi do with it if he walked in? So the question on the diagnostic is, what would a 10 out of 10 entrepreneur do in your current position? Or what would you could say, what would you do if you had to like 10x, like X outcome in your business? And I think it's a thought exercise that points this concept of like focus and seizure. Like how would you really position this podcast if it just wasn't an exploration, but that was going to go toe to toe with Chris Williams every week or whatever? Like what would you have to do? What would somebody with real chops come in and do? And it's an interesting thought experiment, which we don't have to contend with if we don't want to, which is the nice thing about a lifestyle business.
Right.
So it just depends on where your goalpost is. And I think about that, like with these creative like sparks where something pops off and you're kind of like, well, I could have gone with that. I could have pushed harder, and that's what a 10 out of 10 founder would do. That's like this theory of the, this ghost.
Right.
Right. But then you let it pass by or whatever. And so, but there's always another bus coming. So something I've been thinking about a little bit lately, as my business has been at the same level for many, many years. We're growing and stuff, but like when you've been in the game for this long, there like becomes this like dimensional aspect that needs to happen in order for there to be like a real growth.
Yeah.
And so then looking for those opportunities to focus in and pour yourself into, I think becomes of interest for people who've been doing it for more than 5 to 10 years.
Right. Figuring out that next break, as you said, like how does this entrepreneur do it? And those what did they call it back in the old self-help world, was like an imaginary council. Like you put together this group of people and you go to them, because you've read all their materials. You go to them for counsel. Like, what would this person say in this situation? What would Ben Franklin say in this situation, right?
Yep.
And then use that to make the next level, so that you can actually afford to get a real person to come and help you.
Yeah.
Right. To hire that next person in the business to get to that next level. Like using your own imagination outside of your current box, and to give you that next little edge, just so that you can earn a little more leverage and start growing even further.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
It does. Absolutely.
All right. This has been an interesting talk. I had a few ideas of like where I wanted to go with this, but I really wanted to just have the conversation, because something that I really liked forever about listening to the Tropical MBA was, it's like, I like sitting down and listening to Dan's philosophical approach to business. And I like Ian's practical approach to business. I like listening to these guys, and their ideas always spur me on to another level. Like I can go, yes, that I've never thought that about business, and then I can apply it. That's one of the things that I've loved about the show, why I've enjoyed being a friend for forever now, and why you're like one of the first people I had to interview for this new launch.
Cheers, man. Well, I wish you the best of luck with it. Exciting to see you back in the pod game.
It's actually pretty scary. It's pretty scary to sit back here and do this again.
It sucks to do video.
That's like, well, we're in a new world. We can't just.
I'm a retro grouch, man.
Yeah.
I don't like the video stuff, but it seems like that's part of it. There's plenty of successful podcasts that don't have a video version, but
right.
It's one of the things that I've been slow with, because it's just kind of a bummer to like take a shower and
yeah, put a shirt on, sit down. Yeah.
I really tried hard for you today too.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, Dan. I really do appreciate you coming on, sharing your philosophical approach to business, and we'll have this out in the future. Trying to get this whole podcast launched. And for everyone listening, go check out thetropicalmba.com. And if you qualify, you should definitely join the Dynamite Circle. I've been a member since it began. Great people. One of the best places you'll ever go to learn how to run a business from your peers.
Mm-hmm. Cheers, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, we got a bunch of stuff coming up this year. I'm going to Bangkok in a few months and New York a few months after that. So we're doing a bunch of events. We have hundreds of events a year now at this point.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's fun. Yeah.
All right. Cheers.
All right, man.
I appreciate you coming on.
My pleasure.